We are 2 months away from the 2026 World Cup. And let's face it, there are teams that have better players than Brazil right now. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. France, Spain, and then after that, you get the debatable ones like England, Portugal, Argentina. But you know what? You don't need to have all of the best players to win the World Cup. You need the best team and a plan. Well, Ancelotti has one. And today, we're going to be talking about that. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Chapéu Football, where we provide the best coverage of South American football in English on YouTube. So if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. And don't miss out. Only losers miss out. So subscribe right now and hit the like button. Or don't, I can't force you. So roughly 1 year ago when Ancelotti took over the Brazilian national team, we made a video talking about how he would fix the Seleção Brasileira. Fast forward to today, and we have a lot of data on the Seleção Brasileira under Carlo Ancelotti. And it is now crystal clear of what we can expect from Brazil in the 2026 World Cup. So today I want to go through Ancelotti's approach, his tactics to try to win the World Cup. I'm going to go through his comments, call-ups, and then towards the end of this video, we're going to hit the tactical board to talk about Brazil's plan to win the 2026 World Cup. Now, before we start, I have a question for you. Ranking from 1 to 5, give me your top 5 favorites to win the 2026 World Cup. You heard that right. In the comment section down below, from 1 to 5, give me your top 5 favorites to win the World Cup. In the process, also make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and hit the like button. It's a great way to support the channel for free. We truly appreciate it. And that's all. Let's begin the episode. Okay, so before we talk about his comments, before we go to the tactical board, what have been his go-to formations? And with Carlo Ancelotti in charge, we've seen Brazil play a 4-3-3. We've also seen them play a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4. Again, all of that changes in different phases of play. When we hit the tactical board, I'll talk about it more specifically. But if I was to oversimplify it, it's mainly a 4-4-2 and a 4-3-3. Now I want to highlight a specific quote from Carlo Ancelotti himself. And the reason I want to do that is because it kind of shows you very much of what you can expect from this Brazilian side in the World Cup. It's crucial for understanding Ancelotti's tactics. And this is what Carlo Ancelotti had to say. The winner of the World Cup, or shall I say, he said, in the World Cup, the winner is the one who concedes the fewest goals, not the one who scores the most. You heard that right. That is haram ball, right? We're going to see a Brazil side playing soccer terrorism or football terrorism in this case. And Brazilians panic when they hear that. But Carlo Ancelotti is very results driven. He does not care about joga bonito. He wants to win games, which honestly, at the end of the day, it's what matters. Because Brazil in 1982 under Tele Santana played beautiful football, but they lost. In 1994, Brazil played ugly soccer. It was in the United States, that World Cup. And Brazil won. So be honest with me. Do you want Brazil to play joga bonito and lose the World Cup, or just win by all means necessary? Play the way they have to, get the results, and lift the trophy. Ancelotti's goal is pretty crystal clear. If he has to win every single game 1-0, he'll do it. Another thing that Carlo Ancelotti has mentioned multiple times is intensity, which is why I think he hasn't really brought in Neymar so far. Now, could Neymar go? Maybe. I made a video saying that I think he is done, and honestly, I do think he is done. But we'll see. I could be wrong about that. We're going to talk about Neymar in the tactical board later in this video of how he could be useful to the Brazilian national team. But again, intensity is a crucial word. So based off that right away, it's pretty obvious how Brazil will approach this World Cup. Brazil needs to have, or Ancelotti wants Brazil to have, the best defense and intensity, speed to counterattack. He wants the intensity so they can play direct, verticality, play more of a mid-block, sometimes even a low block against the opponents. And honestly, that's very close to what Carlo Ancelotti had when he won 2 Champions League trophies with Real Madrid in modern soccer, right? The past, 5 years. It's a reactive approach. Do not expect Brazil to press a lot. Do not expect Brazil to be a possession-based team against all opponents. It's more reactive. And it's funny because Brazil lost the 2022 World Cup because of a counterattack from Croatia, right? It was a mistake from Fred, and we could talk about that, but it was a counterattack that led to Brazil's downfall in 2022. Now in 2026, if Brazil is to win the World Cup, it will be counterattacking. So let me ask you this, or let me give you my take and you give me your opinion. What are the pros and cons of these tactics that Ancelotti has been implementing for Brazil? The pros are that possession-based teams will struggle versus Brazil. For example, Spain, England, those two teams would struggle against Brazil. It also maximizes the potential of the best Brazilian players right now. For example, Vinicius Jr., Rafinha, Endrick, Luis Henrique, these guys that have been playing up top and doing well. Well, Vinicius hasn't done well for the national team, but you get the point. He is one of the best players. They are at their best when they are counterattacking, speed, transition. Another pro is that these tactics are results based. So if you want to win games, that's what it is. Now, what are the cons? Well, one of the cons is that if you face a team that has more quality and also has a reactive approach, like France, for example, they love to counterattack, you very likely won't beat them. And we saw that in the friendly between Brazil and France. Tactically, it just didn't work for Brazil. The other one is that you still have to find a way to beat lesser teams. Teams that are weaker than you, and they will defend, they'll play a low block, and you cannot have a reactive approach. You have to take the initiative, and that's where Neymar can come into the Brazilian national team, even though I don't think he will be there. It's just that you can't just be reactive against all opponents when you're Brazil. Because let's be honest, like Scotland is not going to take the initiative against Brazil, right? Neither will Haiti. Those are just two examples. So Brazil still has to find a way to break low blocks and score goals by dominating the opponent. Now, when they face Spain, England, teams like that, this approach could be deadly. And we saw that with Ancelotti when he was in charge of Real Madrid, when he won 2 Champions Leagues this decade. It was a reactive approach, and he found a way to get the best out of Vinicius Jr. Okay, now let's go through the roster and hit the tactics board so we can talk in depth about everything that I just mentioned. And while we're getting there, make sure to drop a like in this video if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel. All right, let's do this. Okay, so let's start very quickly. Okay, let's go through the names that globoesporte.com, they put out of 27 players that very likely will be in the World Cup. But again, you can't bring 27, you can only bring 26. Why am I going to go through this quickly? Because it's kind of important for you to know which players he's bringing, because that's what he builds his tactics around. So Globo Esporte reported that the 3 goalkeepers will be Alisson, Ederson, and Bento. I think they're probably right about that. Maybe Bento won't be there because he wasn't good last camp. It could be Hugo Souza from Corinthians, mainly because he's a penalty kick specialist. Regardless, third goalkeeper probably won't play anyway. The defenders, which would be the center backs and fullbacks, would be Marquinhos from PSG, Gabriel Magalhães from Arsenal, Éder Militão from Real Madrid, if he's healthy. And Éder Militão very likely will be a right back for Brazil in the World Cup. Danilo, former Juventus Flamengo player, Léo Pereira, the center back from Flamengo, Bremer, the center back from Juventus, Wesley, the right back from Roma, Alexandro, also from Flamengo, the left back, and Douglas Santos, the left back that plays in Russia. Now, midfielders, or mainly the defensive midfielders, right? The double pivot guys, Casemiro, André Santos, Fabinho. Fabinho's probably the backup of Casemiro, Bruno Guimarães, and Danilo Santos. Danilo was the one that played last camp. Very good player, by the way. And the forwards, which would be the attacking midfielders and wingers, would be Vinicius Jr., Rafinha, Matheus Cunha, Estevão, Gabriel Martinelli, João Pedro, and Luis Henrique. Luis Henrique, that's been quite good for Brazil. He showed how he can be useful, especially on the counterattack, right? He's very intense, very fast, and he played well for Brazil last camp. And then the 3 players that are fighting for 2 spots, according to Globo Esporte, are Lucas Paquetá, Endrick, and Igor Thiago, the center forward from Brentford. Now, I want to add one thing. I think Neymar is probably still fighting for a spot. I don't think Neymar will be in the World Cup, even though I'm going to talk about him a second of how he could be useful. But I would say it's Paquetá, Endrick, Igor Thiago, and Neymar fighting for 2 spots, with Neymar being the one less likely to go. That's what I think will happen. Regardless, let's go to the tactics board here. And I'm using FootMob, by the way. Great website. You guys should definitely check it out. They're not the sponsors of this video, but I like shouting out good brands and good websites, and FootMob is a great one. It's FOTMOB. So again, very quickly, ignore the player selections because we don't really know exactly what the player selections will be for Ancelotti. It could be Estevão, it could be Luis Henrique, it could also be João Pedro up top, and then Rafinha goes wide for Estevão. But for the sake of this video, when we're talking about the tactics, just go with the players that I have on screen, even though what I have on screen could be the starting 11 for the World Cup. So what you see right now is a 4-4-2, or some would call it a 4-2-4, right? Because you have four forwards right there. You have Vinicius, Cunha, Rafinha, and Estevão. And you may be saying, how can you say that he's going to defend like hell, Brazil, to counterattack, and then play four forwards? It doesn't matter like what players you select. You can still have a tactical approach to defend and counterattack. Like Mateus Cunha does a lot of the dirty work. He defends. Estevão tracks back. These guys defend. Like Rafinha, let's say Vinicius Jr. might be the only one that, in my opinion, is a bit lazy when it comes to defending or pressing. But look at this. So this is a standard setup. And the reason I put it like this is I want to show you one thing. When Brazil is defending against Croatia, Mateus Cunha came to the left and Vinicius came up top. Okay, now Rafinha was not available for that game, so and neither was Estevão. But I'm just saying, when Brazil is defending, very often it will be like this. It'll be like a 4-4-2. And then Vinicius stays up top, like a striker, like a center forward. Why? So we can quickly counterattack. And you may be asking, why is Mateus Cunha here? One, he does a better job defending than Vinicius Jr., and two, Mateus Cunha can quickly connect the pass for Brazil to counterattack. He's a playmaker, right? He's not really a striker. He's a 10. So what's interesting is if you go back to the game against Croatia, the first goal where it was Vinicius on a counterattack, he didn't score, right? He set up Danilo. I'm pretty sure it was Mateus Cunha that put the first through ball. It was Cunha. So when Brazil is defending, you're going to very often see a 4-4-2. And Vinicius will be up top. Now, will it be Rafinha? I don't know. For this video, I'm going to put Rafinha, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carlo Ancelotti put Vinicius and Rafinha up top, two players that are very dangerous on the counterattack. Because again, the goal is to be reactive, right? The goal is to sit back, soak up pressure, play a mid block or play a low block, and then counterattack. For that, you need guys that can pick a long ball. And honestly, Casemiro can pick a long ball. Cunha can pick a long ball. And then you have Vinicius and Rafinha to counterattack. And then you have Estevão out wide. And that's also where Endrick can come in. Right? You can put Endrick up top. Endrick came in against Croatia and he was incredible. He's intense. He's fast. And you can counterattack with him. Now, you may be asking, what about when Brazil has the ball? When Brazil is playing with the ball? When Brazil's playing with the ball, right, in possession, let's say we're playing against Haiti and we have to break a low block, it very likely will look more like this. Like a 4-3-3 roughly. So when Brazil has possession, it'll look more like this. You could call it a 2-3-2-3, whatever you want to call it, the formation. When Brazil is in possession, it's something more like this. Now, of course, like Rafinha and Mateus Cunha can interchange. It could be João Pedro here up top. It could be Igor Thiago. That can change. But overall, when Brazil has the ball, Bruno Guimarães pushes higher up the field. Mateus Cunha usually will stay more central. Again, it could be him. It could be João Pedro. We've seen that before. And what's his name? Vinicius Jr. plays as a left winger when we are in possession. Do you understand that? When we have the ball, we're building out of the back to attack, break a low block. Vinicius will play more as a left winger. Now, when we're defending on like a 4-4-2, Vinicius is more central as a striker. So what do we get out of this if you all haven't understood it so far? Forget the possession for a second. Ultimately, the goal of Ancelotti is to maximize Vinicius Jr. as a threat. Now, that is a big gamble because Vinicius has not been good for Brazil. So it's a very big gamble from Ancelotti. But I understand because it worked for him when he was in charge of Real Madrid. Essentially, what I'm saying here is he wants a reactive approach on a 4-4-2 formation where Vinicius is the focal point when you counterattack. He wants the team to defend well, and he wants to utilize Vinicius Jr. to the maximum of his ability. Now, Rafinha is a threat on the counterattack. Estevão, Endrick, Martinelli, I'm not a big fan of. Luis Henrique is a big threat. But ultimately, he wants, I can see it. You can all see it. He wants to get the best out of Vinicius Jr. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to one thing. You guys see this formation here when we are in possession? You see this right now on screen? When we are in possession, you see this player right here, Rafinha. If we were to bring Neymar, that is where Neymar can play. So, for example, if we're playing Haiti or Scotland and we need someone to break a low block, that is where Neymar could be useful. He could. Now, mind you, Neymar is fit. He's looking sharp for Santos when it comes to fitness. He just hasn't looked like himself from a technical standpoint. You see flashes of talent. I mean, it's Neymar, right? You're going to see flashes of talent, but he hasn't looked like himself. He has like eight or seven games left until the call up of the World Cup. Will he be called up? I made a whole video about it. I hope I'm wrong. I do not think Neymar will be there in the World Cup. But again, Ancelotti had this to say, and this came out April 10th, if I'm not mistaken. What I'm putting on screen right now, what Ancelotti had to say about Neymar. Carlo Ancelotti's latest interview with L'Equipe on Neymar. So it's a French news outlet. He said, he's on the right track. He's capable of being 100% physically fit. I've said it this many times. I will call up players who are 100%. Neymar has come back well, and he's scoring goals for Santos. I could use him more centrally and closer to goal as he's playing now. So again, when I was with the tactics board up there, I showed you guys where he would probably want Neymar, if he calls up Neymar, would be floating around near the box, because Neymar does not have that intensity to counterattack like a Vinicius would, a Rafinha, a Luis Enrique. So if we're playing against a team that we have to counterattack and we're counterattacking, Neymar's not ideal these days. But I can see Neymar being useful against Haiti if they're defending with every single player. I can see him be useful against Scotland if they're defending and going for the draw, or whoever we face in the other knockout round. So is there a chance Neymar could still make it to the World Cup roster? Yes, there is. But like I said, I don't think he will. I think Neymar's done. I hope I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I will make a video saying that I'm wrong if he makes the roster in mid to late May. But we'll see. I just want to talk about Neymar because Ancelotti talked about him in May. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking. Now, the last thing I want to touch upon is Ancelotti said, and I'm back on FootMob, the website. Ancelotti said that the team that wins the World Cup is the one that concedes the least goals. Now, going through the total amount of goals your defense leaked is not really fair with teams that make it to the final because they play more games. So I pulled up the stats of goals conceded per game, which I think it's a bit more fair. And Tunisia, ignore because they were out early. That doesn't matter. But Brazil in the 2022 World Cup, they were the second team that conceded the less goals per game. 0.6, and they made it to the quarterfinals, so they played a substantial amount of games. Obviously, France and Argentina that won it, it got a little inflated because of that final. If I'm not mistaken, now wasn't the final 3-3, so they got into the final with 5 goals conceded. Brazil had conceded 3 up to the quarterfinals. Well, my point is Brazil's defense was as good as France and Argentina throughout that World Cup. Chichi's Brazil had great defense in both cycles, 2018 and 2022. Look at 2018. And I'm not just talking about the World Cup, right? World Cup, Chichi also had 0.6 on both World Cups. This was 2018 now that you're seeing on screen, right? 0.6. So Chichi's team had great defense, and that didn't work for Brazil. Now, Brazil didn't have the same reactive approach, right? With Chichi, it was very much positional play, build out of the back, try to break down a low block. So it is a different approach. But my point is, when Ancelotti said the team that wins is the one that concedes less goals, there's more to it. You do need a rock-solid defense to win the World Cup, but it's a game of fine margins. Like in 2022, Brazil could have won that World Cup. Brazil could have won it. But you can't put a weak link like Fred on the field that messes up against Croatia, costs you that goal, and costs you that game. That is the issue. Brazil can win this World Cup. They can go far, but a chain is only as strong as its weak link. And I am concerned about a few things with Brazil in this World Cup, like the fullback position. Douglas Santos is not a great player. He's not a terrible player, but he could be a weak link in the World Cup. Douglas Santos, the left back. The goalkeeper position also, if Alisson is injured, Ederson has been ass. He's been terrible. Bento was not good. He was not good, Bento. And then Hugo Souza, I do not trust him in the World Cup. If you want Hugo Souza for a penalty shootout, it's fine. So there are concerns in terms of weak links for Brazil this time, and we'll have to see how that plays out. Brazil needs probably a better solution for the left back, and Alisson needs to be healthy. Everywhere else for the reactive approach should work. And Militão on the right back would be crucial to have a rock-solid defense because Wesley is good going forward. Defending, not terrible, but unreliable. But that's all for today, everyone. That is Carlo Ancelotti's plan to win the World Cup: defend like hell, counterattack, reactive approach, very similar to what we saw with him with Real Madrid, and get the best out of Vinicius Jr. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching. Drop a like before you go. Have a great day. Bye bye.